So Matt Simmons, SimTech. Let's go. This is the material here is getting ready for the count. So it's this conducting stage and some of the final preps. So this slide needs to be updated because we're actually close to 500 activities now. And I know it's closer to 70,000 that are registered, but just to give an idea of, you may see yourself on the map unless you're a brand new client, in which case that's part of the reason why we need to update the slides. But, pretty good representation around the country. And I think you'll see that the unsheltered homeless work that we do, it lends itself to mobile technology. And so it tends to be the communities that have a higher unsheltered rate are the ones that we are most drawn towards using our services. Some can still get by with paper. I don't know how, but they do it. So getting your surveyor started. There are two ways to get registered. Some of you sign up the volunteer registration portal, and I still call it that. It's a surveyor registration portal because some people are paid to do this work, and then others don't need it or didn't sign up for it. And so if you have without the volunteer portal, you'll be getting a unique setup key. That setup key you can set yourself. It's on the settings page within the command center. So we will default you to one, but maybe you don't like it. You want to change it. You've got some kind of local branding you want to put in there. Go for it. So it's on the settings page. But this is the overall process. They download the app. They can use the QR code. You can search for Counting Us on App Store or Google Play. Get the app. You register inside the app itself. If there's another, and I'll share if you go through the volunteer registration portal, you can skip that step. And then you put your setup key in that you have on the settings page. And what that does is it pulls down all of your local questions and any data, and it has all the data that comes from the app will go back to your secure data store. So that's a secure key, if you will, to pull the questions down and let the app know where to send the data. So, and then once they do, if they can go to the My Account tab, the settings also has details about your account. And so they'll be shown that information. And then they can, after they see that, they can go ahead and get started. It's also worth noting when you have your users that register, you'll see it all in the users tab of the command center as they come on board. If you use the volunteer portal, there's a couple less steps. So register for the count at your custom URL. And so, it's your region.pointintime.info. And you can also tailor that as well. You should have that by now. Download the app if you don't have it already. If you've done this count before, it should already be on your phone. When you open it, it'll ask, it may be update, force an update if it doesn't happen behind the scenes. You're logging in with the information you use from the registration portal. And then from there, it's the same process. Okay. For those that have region and count team leads, we have roles and responsibilities. So this is for larger communities typically. It's a cascading responsibilities model. And what you can do is you can have cities or, say you're a large jurisdiction, large community. We work with some as large as Texas Balance of State. We also have some heavily populated areas. There are big counties in California, for example. I think I saw Kat from San Diego. We've got Alameda, we have San Francisco, and they need to break down their community into smaller, more manageable parts. And so we tend to use cities or towns for that. It doesn't have to be cities or towns. It could be another regional construct. And if they want to extend the rights to have jurisdictional leads, those leads can really have local oversight over their part of the count. So you break up a county into 10 cities, and you have the county leadership as well as 10 cities or towns, some leadership locally to help guide the oversight and monitoring for the account. And we can put some links on here into the chat, but we'll also put the slides up, so you'll have the links there as well. As far as what is it, what kind of roles and responsibilities will it be? So, but it's really just local support for volunteer registration, for questions, and take some of the burden off of you. If you could put the link in here, we just brand new, and this is not a very fancy slide, but we have it doesn't do it justice, all of the hard work that's gone into creating survey materials and a YouTube training series for surveyors. It is an app, so most apps you should be able to follow along, but it's some of the nuanced questions that you might get. We have videos for all of those. So if someone could please put that in the chat, and then just save that, bookmark it. But again, all of our support resources are on our website. So if you go to pointintime.info and then go to support, you'll see it there as well. But Connor took the lead from Simtech on creating those videos, and I think I got to give him credit. Did a bang up job. So thank you, Connor. New to this year, this is an optional feature because we are inserting it a little bit late in the game. This came up as based on feedback that we were hearing from communities that the logistics behind running an account, there's a lot to it. And we started off with a very simple survey tool back when we first created the first app, and that's all it did. But as we iterate year after year, we grow, and we added volunteer registration, then we added region account team management, customization of the surveys. Those are all things that came as we progressed. Well, going back to the cascading responsibilities and like having these levels of hierarchy and support, the need for team leaders to take on a little bit more has come up. And so new for this year, again, it's optional. So if you already have your training materials, or you don't have, and this is if you have region account team management functionality, within the command center, you can designate people as team leads. And once you create a team, and with that, there's some leadership responsibilities that go along with it. And so part of what we're trying to do is have that feedback loop back to the regional leads and the COC leads, account admins, to say, yes, I showed up. My people are here. Or you know what, I'm still missing a couple. Where do they, can you, they can communicate with them. But to be able to provide that status update, back in the day when I was doing my first point in time counts, like 2004, 2005, I'm older. We had paper, and we'd hand people out, all these stacks of paper, and you'd have to hang out until the end of the night until everyone came and returned their stacks of paper. And I remember there was one night in particular, no one came back. There was one team that didn't come back, and they just went home. And so I'm just stuck there. I'm just stuck there at the library waiting, in front for the people to show up. And I didn't, eventually I had to go home myself, but they never returned. The idea here is we want to make sure that we don't have that open-ended, like, where did they go moment. So it's tools to support that communication. And if you're interested in that feature, we're actually working on new training materials for that as well. But just to kind of share a little bit about that, the team leads will be able to share updates, and you'll be able to see in the report section, which we can turn on for you, what those updates are. All right. If you want this functionality, you want to try it out, just message the help desk. We're not turning it on for everyone, because again, we know some people have their ways. So if you have that, just please message the help desk support at pit@simtechsolutions.com, and we'll turn it on for your community. Okay. On a high level, training for what surveys to use when, again, those instructional videos that Connor created has the full breakdown. We'll put a link into the chat as well for those. But this is the guidance that you want to be able to give people. Most communities lead the survey first. That we believe that in Simtech. We're trying to engage people. We're trying to interact with them and let them know that we care. You tell them intent of the count. Ideally, you're providing some kind of incentives. It doesn't always work out budget wise, but it's a way to have a community showing of support for people that sometimes are left on the fringes. If you can't engage someone, for whatever reason, it could be health and safety. You don't feel comfortable. They're not able to communicate for whatever reason. So it could be language, it could be sobriety, it could be other issues. Then we have an observation tally. And then if you can't actually observe a person, but you see a vehicle or structure that you believe to be occupied, some communities also have a vehicle and observation tally. And so we can use these 3 survey instruments together, plus what's gathered in HMIS from your shelter providers to produce the HUD point in time report. On that side of it, we will share some more details about how, we have tools to help you compile the results for the final submission. But just know that you can generate the point in time report off of anything that's collected inside the command center or with the app inside, from the command center. All right, pre-count stage. So you're at the stage now with inside the command center. If you do use regions, then you can add regional settings. So there's a settings tab there. No matter if you use regions or not, there's a settings tab inside the command center for the whole count. So you can actually put in the date and time of the count. You put a note there. So there's a little bit of details there that actually show up in the My Count section of the app. So you can go to the high level at the COC, the community wide, and then you can break it down and have region specific notes as well. And if you're having deployment centers, you can put the address information in there. People can click on that, open up a map, and then they know how to get to where they're going. And you can also, as a regional lead, you can disable registration too. You can do it both for the entire volunteer registration portal or for a particular community, a region within the community. So if you've already got one region's already kind of oversubscribed and you want to encourage people to survey elsewhere, you can turn it off. Or if you have jurisdictional leads or regional leads, they can turn it off too. We've got enough. We've already established our count teams, and that will free it up. So people go to register, they'll go somewhere else. So in the image to the right, the information in the command center shows up on the app. So it's, we need a data management tool. That's the command center. And then it gets exposed to the app. So if you don't put it in, it doesn't show up. And we have, if you need, we have, again, on the support page, so this is support FAQs for administrators. There's details on, if you need more guidance on how to do this. So setting up count teams. This is always, a little bit of work. It's a little challenging. It's not a perfect science. But what we do is we use the data that we can collect now. Ideally, it's known location data. It's already in, most of it should already be in, to inform where we need to send people and how many people we need to send to each area. And typically we use census tracts as our puzzle pieces, our building blocks. Some communities need more granularity, and we can go down to census blocks or more likely block groups. But for most of you that have this function, region count team management, it'll be at the track level. And what you're doing here is the region's already defined. So the COC boundaries, the continuum of care boundaries, are defined by HUD. If your shape files that we get from HUD are outdated, it takes a request to HUD to say, when are you going to fix them? So sometimes you have continuum of care mergers, or you might add a city or remove a city, et cetera. So we do have that happen occasionally. So when you're creating your teams, just think about what makes sense logistically. Ideally, if you're using the volunteer registration portal, you're capturing key information. This goes hand in hand with that. So you're gathering key information about who the people are that said they can show up. So have they done this before? Do they have lived experience? Are they part of, an outreach team that, so they've already actively engaging with this population. They know where to go. They know how to interact with people that can really use that. This is an opportunity to show their leadership and help guide, a team of people that don't normally do this. Are they willing to drive, and do they have a car? So you can think about your rural areas where you're going to need the, people that are willing to drive, and people that don't have a car. You can put them in your, higher traffic areas, most likely in your downtown corridors. And then you're going to have to work with the resources you have and spread them out. And it may mean that you have to go back to certain areas after the fact. So with a survey-based approach, we have more leniency as far as it doesn't have to be all in the first 4 hours of the day or the last 4 hours of whatever the count is. That's traditionally the model that we were following years ago when there was a lot of communities that were doing blitz counts. So they were literally walking around, count, and tap, tap, tap. And then, as a result, if someone is migrating through the community and going about their day that, you believe is experiencing homelessness, you might count them twice. So that's why you have to limit the time range to a few hours. But with a survey-based approach, you have the luxury of spreading out the count window. As a setup procedure, if you feel like you don't have the bandwidth to cover your whole area, try to break it up into what makes sense as far as like chunking out your community. So you might cut it into half, you might break it into thirds. We tend to love using any things that could serve as a natural barrier. So like it could be a major interstate, it could be a river, a mountain range, etc., where people, it's unlikely they're going to go across the highway. It's unlikely they're going to go across the mountain or over the river. And that way you can compartmentalize your count that way if you need to. So this is a animation that shows how in this case, the teams get constructed. It's a similar thing for creating your regions where you're choosing the census tracts from the map. So you're basically edit team geographies. Once you've added the team, you're choosing the areas. And then from there, once the area is defined, there's a users tab above where you can actually add people to those teams. So they have to be added to your region first. And if they're in your region, you can add them to the team. And you can also remove them from the team. And then on the users tab, you can also indicate that the person's a team leader. So count's about to happen. All right, you're all set up, you're ready to go. One of the things that you need to do before the count is switch it over from pre-count mode into live mode. It's okay to switch it early. Just know that if you've got some testing surveys that can't come in as strays, you're just going to have to archive them. But they'll have the date and timestamp. So, it's typically I like to do it the night before. So just sharing. And if you're done capturing known location data, you can move it live now if you wanted to. Just know if anything comes in, it's early, you have to, monitor that data, and you may have to archive some data. But moving it active is going to remove the known location survey if you have that, just so you know. All right, so messaging on the Teams functionality, you are able to message people and say like, hey, what's going on here? Whatever, and you also have all the users, you have their contact information that way. So, use your judgment on when to use what feature. The difference with this one, it's a one-way message. So it's say, hey, come back to town, looks like you're straying, or, please call this number. But, where you can pick up the phone and call someone, it's more of a two-way communication thread. So this is a one-way to I just need to alert them to something versus, the contact information, have a conversation. So the monitoring piece, what's going to happen is you're going to see a map. So if you go to the responses tab, you'll see both a map-based view and a list view of the surveys that come in. And if you have, whatever survey instruments you have. So if you have the observation tally and the unsheltered, and sometimes we've been in the setup, we've been renaming some of those surveys, and it's something that has come up as being more intuitive for people. So the new language is I am interviewing a person and I am observing a person. So you can change in the settings of your survey, you can change those names if you want. And we can show you how to do that too. But on here, you're going to see the information coming in real time. And it refreshes by itself, every few seconds. I forget what the refresh rate is. But what you'll be able to do is you can use the filters and the sorts on the columns on the list view, and you can also use the map. So for the map, you're looking at, are people in the area that they're supposed to be, and you can open surveys there. On the list view, you're really looking for data completion rates, in making sure that things make sense. You see one person just peppering the server and submitting 100 surveys within like 10 minutes. That doesn't make sense. We had an incident of that happening where someone was doing it from their couch and just dropping surveys. I think they thought that, the more people that they could pretend existed for the count, the more funding they would get. So, those types of things may happen. It's pretty rare, but it's something to be aware of. But you can open up the survey. So the blue arrow with the box on the left opens up the survey. And if you need to change anything, say they forgot to answer a couple questions, if you are able to message them and fill that out, you can do it. You can change the survey right there. And you also can archive surveys if things look bogus. So again, this is basically what I just said. I'm not going to belabor that. And then, to open a survey, it's the little open button, and then to archive it. It's not the same thing as delete, because you can unarchive. We preserve the data. But if it's archived, it won't show up on your point in time report. And here's the editing function. The change location. If people don't have location services enabled, this comes up, and you'll see a survey drop in the middle of like Bangladesh or something random. Open up the survey, and you'll see that they probably manually entered an address, but they just put a part of it in. Find out who it is, and then try to reach out to them and say, "Can you turn location services on?" And if you need guidance on that, you can even just GPT it, like, whatever. It's an app setting. It's a phone setting. It's not an app setting. But if they gave you the street and they just forgot the city and town, you could add that, or you can move the pin and change the location that way. And again, you can archive the record. You can send them a message, "Hey, please turn location services on," what have you. All right. So that's all during the count. And honestly, there's a lot of buildup for it. If counts to go well, you get all this anxiety just sharing, because I've done this so many times. And it's a lot of it. It's like, okay, I'm just watching it come in. I'm gonna sip my coffee, and it's more about the things that happen day of that are not related to the app. It's people that are not running on supplies, etc. Don, you have a question? You can take it. I don't know if we have to take you off mute. Hold on a second. Or can you take yourself off mute?
Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't take myself off mute.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
Good morning, everyone. So Matt, I just have a question. When you're looking at the user list, there's a count status column, and we have different responses that I can see is not ready, complete, and active. Can you tell me what that means and what the difference is, and what do I, as a regional administrator, need to do or tell my people to do?
Absolutely. This is more for information purposes. If you're using team leads, there's a function for them to say, this is the people that showed up. The issue with this, because it's not perfect, is we have people, and we also, you as account as a counter can also indicate that you started counting in the My Count section of the app. But what we're missing there is we have some people that aren't using the app because they're partnered up with someone. And so this we added a layer where the team leads can also say, this person who's not using the app is here, but they're just not using the app.
Okay, so not ready means they're not using the app yet.
Potentially, yeah. And
App,
it's not a perfect science because it relies on people to manage it.
okay.
But it's more for informational purposes for you as an oversight to, have some kind of feedback loop that people are out there. It doesn't mean like that nothing's happening. It's more of just ideally a check-in from them. It's like
Okay.
if
And
you
what's the difference between complete and active?
so when they're done counting, they can actually update their status to like I'm done counting. It's
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's also part of it too. So the good questions, because going back to people being done counting doesn't mean it means they canvass their area, but potentially it means that you can also like, hey, can you take on this other area? Because we ran out of volunteers or we need, we just are stretched thin. Can you help out over here? So it's also something to pay attention to because you could use that potentially to say, hey, looks like these people are done. We still have this part of the community didn't get touched, and it's right next to them. I'm going to message them to say, can you help out over here? All right. Any other questions in the chat? Just let me know. I'm not monitoring both at the same time. All right. Okay. I Let's put the link to I'm not sure if that bit.ly is current because we had some again with the Eventbrite. So just go to the webinars page. That's where people to go. So put the link there. Just know on the pointtime.info, there's a webinars page, and they'll have the link to sign up there. So after the count's done, we have some post count data cleanup that may be needed. Things like duplicates, data completion rates, changing locations. And then with all that, we'll also start getting into the reporting aspects so you get ready for the HUD submission. All this is on that support page. So if you notice the URL, it's all pointtime.info/support and then the thing. If you just go to the support page, you'll see all of this there. We still don't have and are not expecting a new what's called a HIC and PIT notice, the housing inventory chart and point in time count notice. I think we're still on the version from like 2024, maybe 2023. I don't know. It's outdated, but HUD hasn't updated that. Just to share. So I don't believe if I clicked on this, it would show me anything. Maybe it would, but just sharing. We're all in the same void of guidance and just going with what we know from the past. So best way to get a hold of us is our help desk. If you send targeted emails to one of us, like you've been communicating with one of us, for whatever other reason, maybe it's through contract sign up and all that, and you send a help desk ticket back, say it's to me or to someone else on the team, it doesn't get shared with everyone else. And, we've all got other responsibilities and commitments. So the best thing to do to get yourself in the queue is to email the help desk. And if you find that something's not being resolved appropriately, the question wasn't, it's not being answered in a timely manner, escalate it to me. That's part of my job is I want to make sure everyone's happy. So, but start there first. And just know we're working as a team to get through the help desk tickets as quickly as possible, and then updating our resources page as we go. So, and tightening our technology. So hopefully there's less issues and questions, and having things like this, so people, you can ask your questions in a common forum. Chances are, if you have a question, other people will have it as well. All right, awesome. I saw the help desk ticket Thank you for putting all that in. And good, good, good. All right. So no more questions there. All right. Are these Simtech, are these URLs good? I know the second one is this tiny URL?
Yes, it should be.
All right, beautiful. So that's the extra one. These are the training videos. Beautiful. Like it. And we have time for Q&A because I kind of went faster than I normally do, I guess. And we started on time. But we have a pretty, looks like a smaller group than usual for our webinars. And so if people have any questions, feel free.